The private jet touched down quietly at Kotoka International Airport, but the man inside carried a storm the world knew nothing about. His name was Kwame Mensah. To the world abroad, he was known as KM Holdings CEO, a self-made billionaire who built a global logistics empire from nothing. Newspapers called him Africa's silent tycoon. Business magazines analyzed his investments. Universities invited him to speak about resilience and strategy. But in Ghana, no one knew who he had become. Not his family, not his old neighbors, not even the people who once mocked him. As he sat inside the luxury vehicle arranged by his security team, watching across busy streets roll by, memories flooded his mind like an old film he had tried to forget. He remembered hunger. He remembered sleeping on a bare floor while his cousins ate meat in the next room. He remembered his aunt's voice saying, "This boy will never be anything." He remembered his uncle refusing to pay his exam fees, and most painfully, he remembered the day he left. 20 years ago, he had walked out of that same city with nothing but a small backpack and a heart full of silent determination. No one stopped him, no one begged him to stay. Some even laughed. Now he was back. Not for revenge, not for pride, but for truth. Kwame had spent years wondering something that success could never silence. If I had remained poor, would my family have ever cared about me? He wanted to know if blood truly meant loyalty, or if love in his family was tied only to money. So he created a plan, a dangerous one. He would return home in disguise. No expensive suits, no luxury convoy, no billionaire identity. To them, he would be just another struggling man who had returned from abroad with nothing to show. The driver stopped in front of an old family house in Medina. The paint was faded, the gate rusty, but the memories were sharp. Kwame stepped out wearing simple clothes, a plain shirt, worn shoes, no watch, no sign of wealth. He stood outside the gate for a long moment before knocking. Footsteps approached. The gate opened. Standing there was his younger cousin, Kojo. Kojo looked older, heavier, but still had the same judging eyes. He scanned Kwame from head to toe, then frowned. "Yes? Who are you looking for?" Kwame's heart tightened. He had expected this, but it still hurt. "It's me," he said softly. "Kwame." Kojo's eyes widened slightly, not with joy, but with surprise mixed with disappointment. "Kwame? Hey, you are back." There was no hug, no excitement, just awkwardness. "Yes, I just arrived." Kojo opened the gate slowly. "You came alone?" "Yes." No one asked how his journey was, no one asked if he was okay. As he walked into the compound, he saw his aunt sitting outside peeling garden eggs. She looked up briefly. Her face changed, not with warmth, but with confusion. "Who is that?" Kojo replied, "Auntie, it's Kwame." She stared at him longer this time, then scoffed. "So you have finally returned." Those words pierced him. Not, "We missed you," not, "How have you been?" Just, "So you have finally returned." He nodded respectfully. "Yes, Auntie." She shook her head slowly. After all these years." Kwame forced a small smile. The test had begun, and already his heart was bracing for what he might discover. That night, Kwame lay on a thin mattress on the floor of the small guest room, the same room he used to sleep in as a teenager, the same cracked ceiling, the same squeaky window, the same feeling of being tolerated, not welcomed. Outside, he could hear his family talking in the living room. They thought he was asleep, but he wasn't. "He said he came from abroad," his aunt murmured, "but look at him. No car, no gifts, nothing." Kojo scoffed. These days, everyone claims they traveled. Maybe he was deported. They laughed softly. Kwame closed his eyes, not because he was angry, but because the truth hurt more than he expected. The next morning, he woke up early. Years of discipline had trained his body to rise before sunrise. He came out to greet everyone respectfully. "Good morning, Auntie." She glanced at him. "Good morning, Uncle." His uncle barely looked up from the newspaper. "Morning." That was it. No one offered him breakfast. No one asked about his plans. No one asked about his life abroad. Instead, he heard whispers. So what work will he do now? At his age, he should have built something. He has come to be a burden again. He absorbed it all quietly, because this was the purpose of his return, to see their hearts clearly. Later that afternoon, his younger cousin Isi approached him privately. She was about 16, innocent eyes, kind heart. "Brother Kwame," she said softly. "Welcome." I smiled genuinely. "Thank you, Isi." "You really stayed abroad all this time?" "Yes." She hesitated. "Are you okay?" That simple question nearly broke him, because it was the first real concern he had received. "Yes," I replied gently. "I'm okay." She smiled shyly. "I'm happy you came back." It was small, but it mattered. Not everyone's heart had hardened. Over the next few days, the treatment became clearer. If food was scarce, he was the only one expected to eat last. If errands needed to be run, he was the one sent without question. If bills were discussed, he was reminded that he contributed nothing. They assumed he was broke. They treated him like he was useless. And still, he remained calm. Still, he observed. Still, he took notes silently. Because the real test had not even begun yet. He had not yet revealed the opportunity. The fake struggle. The fabricated offer. The situation that would expose everyone's true character. And when that moment arrived, everything would change. Kwame understood something very clearly now. If he revealed his true identity too soon, the test would be meaningless. Everyone would suddenly become kind. Everyone would suddenly remember his name. Everyone would suddenly claim they had always loved him. So he needed something stronger, a situation that would tempt them, a situation that would reveal their true hearts. The opportunity came sooner than he expected. It was a Wednesday afternoon when his uncle announced at the dining table, "This house is becoming too crowded. Everybody must start contributing. We are not running a charity here." His eyes rested briefly on Kwame. The message was clear. Kwame nodded respectfully. "Uncle, I understand." His aunt sighed dramatically. At your age, you should be helping your family, not adding to their problems." He swallowed the sting. "You're right, Auntie." That evening, while everyone was gathered in the living room watching television, Kwame spoke calmly. "I've been thinking," he began. "Maybe I should find work quickly. I don't want to be a burden." Kojo laughed lightly. "Work? These days? Even graduates are suffering." Kwame nodded. "True, but I heard something today in town." That caught their attention. His aunt muted the TV. "What did you hear?" He hesitated, as though unsure whether to speak. "I met a man at a chop bar. He said his company is looking for local partners in Ghana. Something about a logistics project." His uncle leaned forward slightly. "What kind of company?" Kwame shrugged. "He said they're investors from Europe. They want trustworthy locals to help manage land and contracts, but he said the opportunity is only for people with connections and integrity." That word, money, was never spoken, but everyone heard it. The room changed. Kojo's posture straightened. His aunt's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. His uncle adjusted his glasses. "What exactly did he say about this opportunity?" his uncle asked carefully. Kwame pretended to search his memory. "I mentioned something about contracts being worth millions, but only for people who can be trusted." Silence fell. Not the awkward kind, the hungry kind. That night, something shifted. For the first time since Kwame's arrival, his aunt called him to eat first. "Kwame, come and take the meat," she said loudly. Kojo looked at him differently now. His uncle started asking questions about his life abroad. They laughed more when he spoke. The change was subtle, but undeniable. Over the next few days, Kwame continued feeding the story carefully. Not too much, just enough. He mentioned that the investors might visit Ghana soon. He mentioned they needed local representatives. He mentioned that whoever proved loyalty and integrity could benefit. And just like that, competition began. Kojo suddenly became helpful. "Ah, Kwame, let me fetch water for you." His aunt started calling him "my son." His uncle began offering advice. "Kwame, you see, family is everything. Blood is stronger than water." Kwame listened quietly, but inside his heart was heavy, because he could see it clearly now. This was not love, this was interest. One evening, as they sat outside enjoying the evening breeze, his aunt said casually, "Kwame, this your friend. Do you think you can introduce him to the family?" Kwame looked at her. "Why the family?" She smiled. "Ah, because if there is any business, it should benefit all of us. We are one family." He nodded slowly. "I understand." But that night, when everyone slept, Kwame wrote names in his phone, not of those who were suddenly kind, but of the one person who had been kind even before opportunity was mentioned. AC. The test was working, and the results were already painful. But the most dangerous part of the test was yet to come. By the following week, the atmosphere in the house had changed so much that Kwame sometimes felt like he had entered a different family. The same aunt who once scoffed at his return now saved the biggest piece of meat for him. The same uncle who barely acknowledged his presence now called him into long conversations about family legacy. Kojo, who had once mocked him behind his back, now followed him around like a loyal assistant. All because of an opportunity that didn't even exist. Kwame observed everything quietly, carefully. That morning, he sat outside under the mango tree, pretending to scroll through his phone while listening to his family's conversation inside. "If this boy really connects us to these investors, our suffering will end," his aunt whispered. "Yes," his uncle agreed. "We must handle him carefully. He is our bridge now." Bridge. Not nephew, not son, not family. Bridge. Later that afternoon, Kojo approached Kwame with a wide smile. "Brother Kwame." Kwame looked up calmly. "Yes, Kojo?" Kojo sat beside him, lowering his voice as though they were sharing a secret. "You know we are family. Whatever business comes, we must stand together." Kwame nodded slowly. "Family is important." Kojo smiled. "Exactly. So when the investors come, you should tell them I am the right person to manage things here. You know, I am educated. I understand business." Kwame studied his cousin's face. Not once had Kojo apologized for the way he had treated him when he first arrived. Not once had he shown genuine concern. Now he wanted position. "I will see," Kwame replied calmly. That evening, his aunt called him into her room. "My son?" she said sweetly, patting the bed beside her. Kwame sat. "You have suffered," she continued dramatically, "but you see, family is where you belong. Whatever opportunities come, don't forget who raised you." Kwame's chest tightened. "Raised me?" He remembered being denied exam fees. He remembered being sent to bed hungry. He remembered being called useless. But he said nothing. She held his hand gently. "When your people rise, you rise too." He forced a small smile. "I understand, Auntie." Outside the room, he found AC waiting. She looked uncomfortable. "They've been talking about you all day," she whispered. He tilted his head. "Talking how?" She hesitated. They are planning, already sharing money that hasn't come. Kwame sighed quietly. AC? He asked softly. If there was no opportunity, would they still treat me like this? She looked down. She didn't need to answer. That night, Kwame added a new layer to the test. At dinner, he spoke calmly. The man I mentioned earlier called me today. Every fork froze. Every ear listened. He said their company will send a representative to Ghana soon. They want to meet people I trust. His uncle cleared his throat. That is good news. Kwame nodded. Yes, but they are very careful. They don't just look for intelligence, they look for character. Character? His aunt repeated. Yes, they observe how people treat others when there is nothing to gain. Silence. The words hung heavy in the air. Kojo laughed nervously. Ah, that one is easy. Kwame looked at him. Not for everyone. That night, his family's behavior intensified. They competed for his attention. They exaggerated their kindness. They tried to rewrite history. You know I've always loved you, his aunt said casually. You were like my own son, his uncle claimed. We have always supported you, Kojo added boldly. Kwame listened, and for the first time since returning, he felt anger rise. Not loud anger, not explosive anger, but the quiet, dangerous kind. Because the test was no longer about money, it was now about truth. And when the truth finally came out, some hearts would be exposed, some relationships would shatter, and some people would regret the roles they had played. The question was no longer who will pass the test. The real question was, who will survive the truth?
If someone had told Kwame that the deepest wound would come not from greed but from betrayal, he might not have believed them. Yet that was exactly what happened. By now, the house felt like a stage, and everyone had become an actor. Smiles were forced, kindness was calculated, conversations were no longer natural, they were strategic. Every word spoken to Kwame carried hidden motives. Still, he endured. He watched. He listened. He learned. But nothing prepared him for what he overheard that Friday evening. He had stepped out to the backyard to take a call from one of his real executives abroad. They spoke briefly in low tones. Business updates, shareholder reports, expansion plans, his real world, his real identity. When the call ended, he walked back toward the house, only to stop when he heard voices from the corridor. Kojo's voice and Essie's. Kwame slowed his steps instinctively. You don't understand, Kojo was saying in a harsh whisper. This is our only chance. If we don't secure our position now, Kwame will give everything to someone else. Essie sounded nervous. But he's not your enemy, he's family. Kojo scoffed. Family? Since when? Where was family when he disappeared for 20 years? Now he wants to return and act important? Kwame's chest tightened. Essie's voice shook. He never acted important. He's been humble since he came. Kojo lowered his voice further. That's exactly the problem. People like him pretend to be humble while hiding things. Mark my words, Essie. He is not telling us everything. Silence. Then Kojo spoke again, more dangerously. I've decided something. What? Essie asked. I'm going to contact that so-called investor myself. Get close, secure my own deal, even if it means going behind Kwame. Kwame's breath stopped. He didn't know why that hurt more than his aunt's manipulation or his uncle's greed. Perhaps because betrayal from strangers hurts, but betrayal from someone you tried to trust breaks something deeper. Essie sounded alarmed. Kojo, that's wrong. Kojo laughed bitterly. Wrong? This is survival. In this world, you take what you can. You don't wait for anyone to save you. Essie's voice became firm. Not at the cost of someone who has done nothing but respect you. Kwame felt a strange mixture of pain and pride. At least one heart was still pure. But Kojo wasn't finished. You're too soft, he said. That's why you'll remain small. Watch me. When I rise, you'll understand." Footsteps followed. Kwame stepped back into the shadows just before Kojo exited the corridor. Kojo didn't see him, but the damage had already been done. That night, Kwame sat alone on his mattress staring at the ceiling. So this was it. Not just greed, not just hypocrisy, but deliberate betrayal. He replayed the conversation in his mind over and over. Kojo's plan was simple: bypass him, manipulate the investor, and claim the opportunity for himself. If the test had continued without interference, the truth might have unfolded naturally. But now the test needed to evolve. The next morning, something else happened. His aunt approached him, wearing an unusually serious expression. "Kwame," she began cautiously, "there is something you should know." He raised his eyes calmly. "Yes, Auntie?" She hesitated, then said, "Kojo told me something yesterday." His heart hardened. "He said you might be hiding information from us, that maybe you want to use this opportunity only for yourself." There it was. The seed had already been planted. He studied her face. "And you believe him?" She avoided his eyes. "I am just saying we must all be careful." That was the moment something inside Kwame shifted. Not into anger, but into clarity. The test was no longer just revealing their hearts, it was now revealing their choices. And from this point on, Kwame knew one thing with certainty. The final stage of the test would not be gentle. Because loyalty that survives temptation deserves reward, but betrayal demands consequence.
The atmosphere in the house had become heavier than ever. After Kojo's betrayal and his aunt's subtle shift of trust, Kwame stopped seeing his family the same way. Their laughter felt fake, their kindness felt staged, every conversation felt like a negotiation, every smile like a performance. Yet he remained calm, because the final phase of the test had begun. 3 days later, a black car pulled up outside the house. It was not flashy, not luxurious, just a simple saloon car. But its presence caused instant commotion. Kwame's aunt rushed outside first. Kojo followed quickly behind. Even neighbors began peeping from their windows. The driver stepped out and walked confidently toward the gate. He wore a neat shirt and carried a leather folder. "Good afternoon," he greeted politely. "Yes, good afternoon," Kwame's aunt replied too eagerly. "Who are you looking for?" The man glanced around. "I'm looking for a man named Kwame Mensah." Every head turned. Kwame, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, slowly stood up. "I am Kwame." The man smiled slightly. "My name is Mr. Boateng. I was asked to deliver a message to you." The entire compound froze. Koto's eyes widened. His aunt's hand flew to her chest. His uncle adjusted his shirt quickly, as though preparing for an important meeting. Mr. Boateng handed Kwame a sealed envelope. "This is from someone who claims to know you from abroad." Kwame accepted it calmly. "Thank you." Is that all?" Kojo asked quickly, stepping forward. Mr. Boateng glanced at him briefly. For now, those 2 words carried weight. Kwame opened the envelope slowly. Inside was a neatly typed letter. His real executive team had done exactly what he instructed, create a believable but vague contact. He read aloud carefully. "Dear Kwame, we are pleased to inform you that our representatives will be visiting Ghana soon to finalize our search for a trustworthy local partner. Your recommendations will be considered seriously, as integrity and loyalty are our top priorities. Sincerely, J.K." Silence followed. A thick, powerful silence. Then, suddenly, "Hey!" his aunt exclaimed, clapping her hands. "God has done it!" Kojo grinned broadly. I knew it would work." His uncle stepped forward, voice filled with sudden authority. "Kwame,
We must sit down and discuss this properly. These kinds of opportunities require wisdom." Kwame watched them quietly. Just days ago, they had doubted him. They had accused him. They had treated him like a burden. Now, suddenly, he was important. Later that evening, the house transformed into a planning center. They gathered in the living room as if attending a family council. "We must present ourselves well," his aunt said. "We cannot let outsiders take what belongs to this family." Kojo nodded eagerly. "Yes, we must show them we are serious people." His uncle added, "Kwame, when they come, you should tell them I am the head of the family. That will give us credibility." They spoke as though the opportunity already belonged to them, as though Kwame was merely the messenger. He listened without interruption, until finally he asked quietly, "And if they decide to choose only one person?" Silence fell again. Kojo laughed nervously. "Ah, that won't happen. We are family." Kwame's gaze lingered on him. "Are we?" Kojo shifted uncomfortably. Later that night, Isi found Kwame sitting outside under the stars. "You saw how they changed today," she said softly. He nodded. "I saw." She hesitated. "Does it hurt?" He thought for a moment, then answered honestly. "Yes." She sat beside him. "I'm sorry." He looked at her gently. "You have nothing to apologize for." Her eyes glistened. "Sometimes I wish people loved without expecting anything." Kwame smiled faintly. "Some people still do." She looked at him surprised, and for the first time, Kwame realized something. The test was not only revealing who was unfaithful, it was also revealing who was pure. And when the final truth finally emerged, not everyone would be punished. Some would be protected, some would be elevated, and some would face the consequences of the roles they had chosen.
The letter changed everything. For the first time since Kwame's return, his family no longer whispered about him behind his back. Now they whispered about him loudly, proudly, as though his success, even imagined, belonged to them. "My nephew is a powerful man," his uncle told neighbors at the gate. "God has blessed our family," his aunt declared at the market. Kojo walked around the neighborhood with new confidence, already behaving like a future executive. Kwame watched it all quietly. What disturbed him most was not their excitement, but their entitlement. No one spoke of supporting him. No one asked how they could help him succeed. Instead, every conversation was about what they could gain. One afternoon, Kwame returned from a short walk to find his uncle seated in the living room with two unfamiliar men. They looked up when he entered. "Ah, Kwame," his uncle said quickly, standing up. "Come and greet these gentlemen." Kwame greeted them politely. "This is my nephew," his uncle continued proudly, "the one who has connections with foreign investors." Kwame's eyes narrowed slightly. The men smiled, but their expressions carried curiosity mixed with suspicion. "We heard you have access to business opportunities," one of them said. Kwame looked at his uncle. Who were they? "Oh," his uncle said too quickly, "they are friends, potential partners." Kwame understood instantly. His uncle had begun marketing an opportunity that did not belong to him. Worse, he was using Kwame's name without permission. He turned back to the men calmly. "I'm sorry, gentlemen. There may have been a misunderstanding." The men exchanged glances. "We were told you are arranging contracts," the other said. Kwame shook his head gently. "No, agreements have not been made yet." Awkward silence followed. The men excused themselves soon after. The moment they left, his uncle's tone changed. "Kwame, why would you embarrass me like that?" he demanded. Kwame looked at him steadily. "Why would you invite strangers using my name without my consent?" His uncle hesitated. "I was only trying to help the family." "By selling promises you don't control?" Kwame asked quietly. Kojo, who had been listening from the doorway, stepped in. "You could have handled it better," he said defensively.
We are all trying to benefit from this. Kwame turned to him. Benefit or exploit? Kojo scoffed. You are starting to sound selfish. That word hung in the air. Selfish. Kwame almost laughed. The man who had endured neglect, rejection, and emotional isolation for years was now being called selfish for refusing to be used. Later that night, Isi approached him again. They are angry with you, she admitted softly. He nodded. I know. They think you're hiding things. Kwame exhaled slowly. People often become suspicious when they can't control what they want. She studied him. So, are you really hiding something? He looked at her for a long moment, not testing her, not analyzing her, just seeing her. Then he said quietly, Yes. Her eyes widened slightly, but she didn't look afraid. I am hiding the truth because not everyone deserves it. She nodded slowly. That makes sense. No pressure, no demand, no manipulation. Just understanding. Meanwhile, Kojo's frustration was growing. He had expected the opportunity to elevate him quickly. Instead, Kwame's caution felt like an obstacle. That night, while everyone slept, Kojo sat alone scrolling through Kwame's social media accounts. Old photos, old connections, old comments. Then he noticed something. A single name that appeared repeatedly in the comments. J.K. Holdings. The same initials as the letter. Kojo's heart raced. He began digging deeper, and what he was about to discover would change everything. Because some truths, when uncovered the wrong way...
Kojo did not sleep that night. The name kept flashing in his mind like a stubborn light that refused to go off. J.K. Holdings. He had seen it again and again in the comments under Kwame's old social media posts. At first, he had ignored it. Just another company name, just another online connection. But now it felt different. The letter delivered to the house had been signed J.K. The man claimed to be from abroad. The timing was too perfect. Kojo sat on his bed with his phone glowing brightly in the darkness, scrolling endlessly. His curiosity had turned into obsession. He tapped the name into Google. J.K. Holdings, CEO. The page loaded slowly. Then suddenly, there he was. A photograph filled the screen. A man in a dark, tailored suit, confident posture, calm, powerful eyes, standing behind a podium at an international business summit. The headline read, Kwame Mensah, the silent billionaire behind J.K. Holdings. Kojo froze. His heart stopped for a brief, terrifying second. He zoomed in on the photo. The face was older, more refined, more polished, but it was undeniable. It was him, Kwame, the same Kwame who had been sleeping on a thin mattress in the guest room, the same Kwame who fetched water without complaint, the same Kwame they had mocked, underestimated, and used. Kojo's fingers trembled. He clicked the article. Kwame Mensah, Ghana-born entrepreneur and founder of J.K. Holdings, has built a multi-billion-dollar logistics empire across Europe, Asia, and North America. Known for his humility and secrecy, Mensah rarely grants interviews and keeps his private life hidden. Kojo's mouth went dry. Multi-billion-dollar empire. Billionaire. The word echoed violently in his head. He dropped the phone onto the bed as though it had burned him. For a long moment he just sat there, staring at the wall, breathing heavily. Then, slowly, a smile began to form. Not a joyful smile, not a relieved smile, a dangerous smile. If this is true, he whispered to himself, then everything changes. By morning, Kojo's entire behavior had transformed. He woke up early, he cleaned the compound without being asked, he prepared breakfast, he even ironed Kwame's shirt. When Kwame stepped out of his room, surprised to see Kojo busy in the kitchen, Kojo turned with an exaggerated grin. "Good morning, brother." Kwame studied him carefully.
Good morning. Did you sleep well? Kojo asked cheerfully. Kwame nodded. Yes. Kojo laughed lightly. That's good, that's good. A man like you needs proper rest. Kwame's eyes narrowed slightly. A man like you? That was new. Over breakfast, Kojo kept talking. You know, Kwame, I was thinking about what you said about character and loyalty. It really touched me. Family must support each other genuinely, not because of opportunity. Kwame listened quietly. Kojo continued. You know, no matter what happens with these investors, just know that I am always on your side. The hypocrisy was almost impressive, but Kwame did not expose him. Not yet. Instead, he nodded. That's good to hear. Kojo leaned closer, lowering his voice. You know, we don't need outsiders to divide us. Whatever you have, we can build it together. Kwame met his eyes. Can we? Kojo smiled confidently. Of course. But the truth was already written in Kojo's heart, and Kwame could see it clearly. Kojo was no longer pretending for opportunity. Kojo was now pretending for wealth. That afternoon, Essie approached Kwame with concern. Kojo has been acting strange since morning, she said softly. Kwame gave a faint smile. Strange? How? Too nice, too careful. Kwame nodded slowly. Some people become kind when they discover value. Essie studied him. He knows something, doesn't he? Kwame did not answer directly. Instead, he said quietly, the closer the truth gets, the harder people try to hide their true selves. That night, Kojo stood outside Kwame's door, hand raised as though to knock. He hesitated, because now he wasn't sure whether to speak as cousin or as someone who had just discovered he was standing under the same roof with a billionaire. And the most dangerous thing about secrets is not when they are discovered. It is when people begin to act on them.
Kojo did not knock on Kwame's door that night. Instead, he stood there for a long time, hand hovering in the air, thoughts fighting each other, fear, excitement, guilt, ambition, every emotion tangled together. If Kwame truly was a billionaire, then every move he made from this moment forward mattered. By morning, Kojo had made a decision. He would not confess. He would not apologize. He would not admit that he had doubted, mocked, and betrayed Kwame. Instead, he would perform loyalty. He woke up early again, louder this time, making sure everyone noticed his efforts. Auntie, I've swept the compound already. Uncle, don't worry, I'll handle the errands today. Kwame, I warmed your water for bathing. His aunt and uncle exchanged pleased glances. You see, his aunt said proudly, this family is changing for the better. Kojo smiled, but the smile never reached his eyes. That afternoon, the black car returned. This time, it did not stop outside the gate. It drove inside. The gate had been opened before the driver even honked. Everyone rushed out. Mr. Boateng stepped out again, but he was not alone this time. 2 other men followed him, both dressed neatly, carrying briefcases. A small crowd began to gather. Curious neighbors, interested onlookers, family friends. Mr. Boateng spoke clearly. Good afternoon. We represent an international firm seeking a long-term partner in Ghana, but before any official engagement, we observe something more important than wealth. He paused deliberately. We observe character. Silence. We observe how people treat others when they believe no one is watching. We observe loyalty, integrity, humility. His aunt swallowed hard. His uncle's face stiffened. Kojo's smile faltered for the briefest second. Mr. Boateng continued, directly looking at Kwame. And after careful observation, we have confirmed that Mr. Kwame Mensah has demonstrated exceptional character. The words sounded good, but the tone felt heavy, like judgment was coming next. Mr. Boateng then reached into his briefcase and pulled out a document folder. However, he added, raising his voice slightly,
We have also observed disturbing behavior from certain individuals within this household. A ripple of discomfort moved through the crowd. Some neighbors began whispering. "What behavior?" someone asked quietly. Mr. Boateng did not answer immediately. Instead, he said, "Before we continue, there is something the public deserves to know." He turned to Kwame. "Sir, with your permission." Kwame held his gaze. Then, after a long moment, he nodded once. Mr. Boateng turned back to the crowd. "Mr. Kwame Mensah is not an unemployed returnee." Silence. "He is not a struggling traveler." More silence. Then the words dropped like a hammer. "He is the founder and CEO of JK Holdings International." The world stopped. Gasps erupted. Hands flew to mouths. Someone whispered, "Billionaire?" His aunt staggered backward slightly, his uncle's face drained of color. Kojo stood perfectly still, heart pounding violently in his chest. Mr. Boateng continued calmly. "This entire exercise has been a personal decision by Mr. Mensah to observe the true hearts of those closest to him." Test? So he was watching them? This is serious, ooh. Kwame finally spoke, not loudly, but clearly. "I came home not to test wealth," he said, looking around at familiar faces, "but to test love." His voice carried weight. "And what I found," he paused, "was painful." No one spoke. No one could. Some truths were too heavy to respond to. Kwame looked at his aunt, at his uncle, at Kojo. Their eyes could not meet his, but his gaze did not linger on them. Instead, it shifted to Essie. And in that moment, everyone knew the final judgment was coming.
The compound felt different now. Not because the crowd had grown larger, not because the air was heavy with shock, but because truth had finally stripped everyone naked. No pretenses, no acting, no performance, just raw reality. Kwame stood quietly as murmurs filled the air around him. People who had once passed by him without greeting now stared in disbelief. Neighbors whispered. Children pointed. Adults shook their heads in shock. A billionaire? So it was him all along? No wonder he was too calm. This world is deep. But Kwame heard none of it. His eyes remained on the three people who mattered most in that moment. His aunt, his uncle, and Kojo. They could not lift their heads. His aunt's lips trembled, as though she wanted to speak, but no words came out. His uncle stared at the ground, shoulders heavy with shame. Kojo looked like a man who had run out of breath while running after a moving train. Mr. Boateng broke the silence gently. "Sir," he said to Kwame, "should we proceed?" Kwame nodded. Mr. Boateng opened his folder and removed 3 sealed envelopes. "These," he announced, "represent Mr. Mensah's final decisions regarding the future of this household." The crowd leaned in. Even the breeze seemed to pause. Mr. Boateng turned first to the aunt. "This envelope is for you, madam." She looked up slowly, eyes filled with fear and hope fighting each other. He handed it to her. With trembling fingers, she opened it. Inside was a letter. She read silently at first, then her face crumbled. Tears welled up. She fell slowly onto the nearest chair. Mr. Boateng's voice was calm but firm. "The letter contains Mr. Mensah's support for your medical bills, your rent, and your basic living needs for the next 2 years. Gasps of surprise escaped the crowd. "However," he added, "it also states that no business involvement, no leadership role, and no financial control will ever be entrusted to you." The message was clear. Compassion,
without trust. Kwame looked at her softly. "This is not punishment," he said. "This is mercy." She wept openly. Next, Mr. Boateng turned to the uncle. "This envelope is for you, sir." The uncle accepted it slowly, hands shaking. He opened it. His eyes scanned the page. His face fell. "This letter," Mr. Boateng said, "contains a formal rejection from all future involvement in Mr. Mensa's business affairs. It also documents evidence of your attempts to misrepresent opportunities using his name." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "But," Mr. Boateng added, "Mr. Mensa has chosen not to pursue legal action." Kwame spoke gently. "Because shame is already heavier than prison." The uncle said nothing. He couldn't. Finally, Mr. Boateng turned to Kojo. The air changed. Everyone watched. Kojo's legs felt weak as Mr. Boateng held out the final envelope. "This one," he said quietly, "is for you." Kojo hesitated, then took it. Slowly he opened it. As he read, his expression shifted from confusion to shock to horror. He looked up at Kwame, eyes filled with disbelief. "What is it?" someone whispered. Mr. Boateng answered. "The letter contains a full record of Kojo's actions during this period, his attempts to manipulate information, his attempts to bypass Mr. Mensa, his conversations, his intentions." Kojo's mouth opened slightly, but no sound came out. Mr. Boateng continued. "The letter also states that Mr. Mensa will personally sponsor Kojo's education in business ethics at a private institution." A ripple of confusion passed through the crowd. Education? So he is forgiving him? What kind of billionaire is this? Kwame stepped forward. Not to Kojo, but to the center. "I did not return home to destroy anyone. I returned to understand hearts." He turned to Kojo. "You are not punished with poverty. You are punished with growth." Kojo's eyes filled with tears. "For the next 4 years," Kwame continued, "you will study, you will work under supervision, you will learn humility, and you will earn, not inherit, whatever future you desire." Kojo broke down, not because of money, but because of truth. He dropped to his knees. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry." Kwame did not respond immediately. Instead, he looked past everyone, towards Essie. She stood quietly at the back. No ambition, no expectation, no performance. Just her. Kwame walked towards her slowly. The crowd parted. He stood before her.
"You," he said softly, "are the only one who was kind before opportunity appeared." Her eyes filled with tears. "You defended me when I wasn't in the room. You treated me like family when I had nothing to offer." He turned to Mr. Boateng. "Give her the final envelope." Essie froze. "What? Me?" she whispered. Mr. Boateng handed her the envelope gently. With shaking hands, she opened it. Inside was a letter and a bank document. She read the letter first. Her lips trembled. Then tears fell. Mr. Boateng spoke. "Miss Essie has been awarded a full international scholarship, fully funded by the Kwame Mensa Foundation. Tuition, accommodation, living expenses, everything." The crowd erupted, but Kwame wasn't finished. He looked at her. "You reminded me that pure hearts still exist," he said, "and because of you, I still believe in family." Essie could only cry. The test was over. The masks were gone. The truth had spoken.
And in the end, everyone learned the same lesson. Not everyone who smiles with you loves you. Not everyone who ignores you hates you. But those who stand with you when you have nothing, those are the ones who deserve everything.